What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Austin. I am the host of the One Last Hit podcast. Thanks for listening in. And joining me today, Mr. Hunter S. Hunter, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, Austin? How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. So I'm eager and excited to dive into your story. And I know I've heard parts of it. But probably not to the detail that we're going to get today, which is very, very exciting. So what was early life like? Like, let's start from the very beginning here.
Oh, dude, early life for me was great, man. I've got no excuse to have a problem with alcohol or drugs, man. I just, I mean, on the outside, if you looked at my life, you would go, man, that kid should be a straight A student and like private school, just all the stuff like that. Have you ever seen one of those magazines for your local city with that family on the cover? Like socially, like I should have been right, like front and center of that, but that was not my story.
So when you say that, do you mean like two-parent home, upper middle class, dinner on the table type of shit, or what?
Let me answer it like this. So I grew up in Virginia, and people ask me like, where are you from? I'm like, Virginia. We've got 1,485 acres of hunting property that we got a little cabin on, and they farm cotton, corn, soybeans, peanuts, and pretty much whatever the farmer is told to farm, and we hunt that property hard and spend quite a few weekends up there a year, about 4 to 5 weekends a year there. And the other weekends of the year we spend at my parents' vacation house on the water in the Chesapeake Bay, mouth of the Rappahannock River. You got the golf cart community, the jet skis at the end of the dock, the boat, you're either fishing or tubing or sitting out on the beach. Like it was tough. It was brutal. I mean, we really struggled.
You suffered.
Yeah, and then the 3,500 square foot house in the middle of the city, and like the Hampton Roads area, and that was where we spent Monday through Thursday, and then that was pretty much it. But it should have looked. I shouldn't have had much of a life to escape from, but. Man, when I took my first drink, I realized that I was like about like 5-10 years too late. And mind you, my first blackout, I was 14.
Yeah.
And even that was like with that first night, man, I knew I should have had one of those like years before.
So I'm curious, did your parents work in government or what was?
No, I don't want to be tarred with the same brush as the Yankees up in Northern Virginia. I don't. We're cut from a different cloth.
Okay.
My dad's in the insurance business, and my mom is in the landscaping business, commercial landscape, not the residential stuff. And so she was pretty high up with the company she was with for years, decades. Managed an insane book of business for commercial contracts. And then my dad was in commercial insurance for mostly maritime stuff, like pretty big contracts in the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, Portsmouth, just the Hampton Roads area. My dad was pretty involved with that. So cool stuff.
So you've told us what the outside looked like, but like as a child, as the age of 6 to 10, like what was it like being? Like what did Hunter feel like on the inside, I guess is what I'm asking.
So my dad took this huge job and moved our main house, the place we're sleeping in throughout the week while my brother and I are in school. I've got a younger brother who's like 4 years younger than me. We moved from Richmond, Virginia, suburb of Richmond, out to Hampton Roads area. I have consciously or subconsciously blocked out almost every memory I have from prior to that move. I've sat down with therapists. I've talked to counselors. I could not close my eyes and picture something or describe a situation to you of really any detail from prior to 10 years old.
Wow.
Is when we
That's
moved. And I started like at I guess it was third grade when I started school here, in the Hampton Roads area.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you anything from before that. I could tell you a lot about how much my life sucked after that for the first few years until I found alcohol.
Mm. That's interesting. So like even looking at pictures or anything, it doesn't like you're like, those are nice pictures, but I don't quite remember what that is.
I live in Orlando, suburb of Orlando now, and Disney World, granted, cost of things is a little higher now than it used to be, but my grandmother used to bring like 10 of us, family members, fly us from Virginia down to Florida, put us up in a Disney resort, the whole, like 10 members of our family for a week every summer for like 12 years. I couldn't tell you, I have zero recall of any of those. I look at the pictures and I can connect to one core memory at the ESPN Wide World of Sports. But over that 12-year period, that's all I got.
Wow. That is wild, man. Wow. Okay.
It's strange.
I hope we get to pull back on that. So you're, let's see, you're 10 years old, you move, and then you start having, you're able to recollect that part, right? So starting at age 10, roughly.
Yeah, there was a kid across the street. My backyard ran to a pretty popular street, and his backyard was to that same road. And, the 6-7 foot tall, wooden fences was pretty common in like my neighborhood. Like every house had a fenced in backyard, but a lot of them had that one gate that went through the back. So he and I talked or hung out a bunch, got to know him pretty good. He had a twin brother. His twin brother they were like kind of in between the ages of me and my brother, and his twin brother was like more of a video game, like hang out inside the Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Like I'm like, hey, don't worry, my head's hard, don't need a helmet, let's try to build this quarter pipe and skateboard and bike and just beat the crap up out of myself trying to do like what I thought was like fun, like guy stuff, always outside. Like I can remember a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
But when I found alcohol, man, there was a neighbor to the right of us. If you're looking at my parents' house, it's to the left. And he had this beer fridge in his garage. And I knew that if I could get in the side door of his garage, which the dude never locked because you had to go through the fenced in backyard to get into. And you go in there and with a little backpack, and I'd, take, whatever I wanted, depending on the day. But I remember specifically detailed memories of getting out the window or which stair on the staircase squeaked. I knew like which one I had to skip over, right? How to get out of the house and back in the house without the dog going weird, like I have those core memories, like how to break in and out of my parents' house.
Yeah.
To steal some booze from the neighbor.
I am curious. So you stole some booze from the neighbor. Let's talk about the first one, because leading up, I mean, you've mentioned it a few times, and clearly it's one of those memories, and it is for me too. Like my first buzz I ever caught. So tell me about that.
So what's weird is I can't tell you where my first buzz was because drinking was a popular thing. And back to the question you asked that I completely skirted around unintentionally was how did I feel? Like, man, I just best way I ever heard it explained was like if I could have traded my life with anyone else's, I would have. Like dying wasn't on the table. Drinking into oblivion didn't look like the answer either, but staying as I was, I would trade the consequences of getting in trouble or doing anything to change how I felt over the consequences of staying how I was. Right. Like I can't tell you how many days sitting in grade school thinking, dude, if I could just like restart, like equipped with this new information of life, like if I could just restart, I wouldn't be here. And wanting so bad to just be able to rewind the tape to like somehow get around where I existed, right? Like as if like somewhere, like, like that was the answer. But when I found alcohol, um, I don't know if it was the rush or thrill of getting in and out of the house, or because it wasn't really fun to sit in your bedroom. I had a Nintendo 64 that I'd play really drunk. I'd like do like this like drunk driver Mario game by
Mhm.
myself. As like a teenager, just for entertainment purposes. I'd try to chug a beer before every lap finished. And then you'd be blasted by the end of a couple Grand Prix.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the first real memory I have of drinking was in a tree stand, and I remember the disappointment on my dad's face, and coming back to the hunting cabin. That's a great story,
Tell it.
but that's the one I remember. Um, this to paint the picture, right? This little hunting cabin's not much. I mean, if you looked at it, you'd be like, "Yep, that's abandoned." But you walk in, man, and it's just concrete floors. The kitchen is the hallway from the front door to the bathroom, like,
Okay.
and the cabinets are all mismatched. You hang a left into this great room, and then that's the bedroom. Now, on workday weekends, we've added two wings and like busted down a hole in this cinder block house to create a doorway to the two wings, and the wings have just three sets of bunk beds in them. And then the living room has the wood stove, and then this huge kitchen table and some mismatched couches that I think probably guys picked up off the side of the road where people like just like throw their shit out to like let the trash people pick it up. Like cigarette burns in them, like different colored cushions. Like the cushions don't even match on the same couch. Like highfalutin place, bro.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but that was, dude, so many memories from there. And so it's a Sunday. They hadn't passed the law yet in Virginia to where you were allowed to shoot deer on Sunday. So we went scouting. Now,
Uh-huh.
it had to have been a holiday weekend because we normally pack up on Saturday or Sunday morning and drive home. But Monday was a holiday. I can't remember what holiday it was, but we were staying for Monday. And me and my buddy Harrison went scouting. The only other friend from my drinking days that kept in touch with me through my last like 6 to 12 months of drinking, mind you. All the people I knew and met, I had two, and one of them wasn't even my brother.
Yeah.
Harrison and I just come up with this brilliant idea to go scouting. We get into the tree stand, and the backpacks are heavy, and so we've got this little blunt rolled up, right? I've got one. Didn't know he had one. He's
Mm-hmm.
got about 12 beers in his backpack that he's stolen from somebody's cooler. And I've got like 12 beers in my backpack. And we look at each other and just start cracking up because we know exactly what we're about to do for the next like 3 or 4 hours,
Yeah, yeah.
and nobody's going to come bother us. Cell phones weren't really a thing. And if we had them, where we were hunting at, there's no cell service, right? But we had this decoy out in this little peanut field. It was just a riot, man. And he and I drank every beer and smoked both blunts in a matter of like 3 hours, and as like mid teenagers. And we were so tore up. We were trying to get the decoy like unassembled and back in the bag, and it's just like plastic like deer. It's like a
Dear,
life-size
yeah.
deer. Yeah, and we're trying to get it back in this bag, dude, and it's like that like middle school sleepover where mom yells at you to roll your sleeping bag up type of thing. Like it ain't happening, dude. Like there's no way we're getting that back in there. And so he and I are like putzing through this field. He's got like part of the deer. I've got like a leg and like the torso, and we're just like walking through. You can see us on trail cameras. Later on, we rolled back and looked at the foot. It was hysterical. The freedom and joy for life. And the presence of the present moment was just more rich than I can ever articulate. I never been that here and now in my life. And I can still like picture his face and like so many different little instances from that night, like some core memories. But man, when we got back, all the dads are around.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Like, it was dark like an hour and a half before we got back. Like, dinner's already cooked. They're playing some cards, like, and the look of disappointment on my dad's face. Now, and Harrison's dad, he's like he'll whoop the ass of like your buddies. Right? like he'd put his hands on me a couple of times when I acted out over at his house. Like, that was a different time, right? Like, but he was ready to just blow up. And Harrison, like, we came in, like, the look, like, if one of your kids came in to your house having just faced a couple grams worth of weed and 12 beers in the last like 3 hours, like, yeah, dude, and we just come in and the only thing that my dad said was, hope you had some fun. You won't be doing that for a while. And like, I was expecting him to yell at me or whatever, but I kind of got off easy on that one. But that was like, for me, and I had to have been like maybe 16, 17 at the most when that happened. But if we weren't at the hunting cabin with every cooler you looked in, with every kind of beer and liquor and moonshine in it, we were at the bay, and the bay was the same thing. Like, I look back as a parent now. I was born in 1990. My dad was 30 years old when my mom and dad were 30 and 28 when they had me. So when I was about this age, right, they're like kind of in the prime of their life. They're like early mid 40s, shit, dude, coming up kind of close to that right now and having plenty of friends that are that age. Like, dude, like, I must have been such a pain in the ass to them. They're just trying to have a good time, dude. And like, looking back, like, even now, dude, 2026, the cost of living has got to be like 250% higher than it was, just 20 years ago. Like, probably even low. I might be even low on that. But to have that life, and like, my parents kicked some ass, dude. Like, we weren't millionaires or anything. Like, we still had a shop. My brother and I still had a shop at Walmart. But like, for back to school shopping, clothes and all, unless you could like guilt trip grandma to come pick you up, she would take you to the mall, and you could go like Kohl's or Dillard's, right? My parents were just like frugal in that way. Like, we'll buy the boat, the jet ski, the house, another house, a property, but you're wearing Wrangler jeans from the sale rack at Walmart.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit, right?
Right.
But the life that they had created for themselves and for me, like, I was totally remiss on that. Like, it took me a couple fist steps to get to a place of understanding. Like, not only did they have no idea what to do with me, like, you want to talk about a justified resentment, like busting ass and being that successful in your own right to be able to afford that kind of a life. And then you have this shit kicker over here that's stealing all your beer out of every cooler. But that was just life, dude. Every Friday and Saturday, it was a drink until you have to go to bed. Somebody's either taking you or you're basically crawling there. And that was just normal for me. I saw that every single weekend, Friday and Saturday, whether I was at the hunting club or at the bay. And everybody drank like that. Well, I thought they drank like that. Maybe they didn't. That's what it looked like to a kid my age. So when I was able to start getting access to alcohol, that when I needed to get it on my own, that's where I started. That was my only base point. But I rarely ever needed to be in a position to where, like, I never had a fake ID. I didn't need to go like stand out front of 7-Eleven and like, hey, Mr. somebody. Like, it was just it was available and everybody was doing it. And so I don't like, it's not like I certainly am not trying to come across like, my parents did a poor job of like, taking care, like, dude, they were just living their life. And I was taking full advantage of it.
Mm. So you're 16, getting in trouble, I mean, shit, if you put down a dozen beers to the head and then smoked a blunt, you were probably quite lit. And so how old were you when you graduated high school?
18.
17, 18? You were 18. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know your story it kind of takes off at a point. I know you had a pivotal thing happen with your dad and some other stuff. And I don't know the exact timeline, but.
Yeah, the thing with dad, like, I mean, that's probably a lot less of a fun story, but like it's a hell of a moment in my life.
Yeah.
And just to run through it for the sake of the podcast, my dad had a wire get run over by a bush hog. We were on a 4-wheeler. Bush hog was about 150 yards ahead of us. And I guess there was some chain link fence underneath the brush that it ran over, and it kicked up a piece of wire and hit him in the neck. And it hit him like right here in the side of the neck. And then like from the side, like it only stuck out like a little bit. And he had a drop of blood on the collar and just above the pocket of his t-shirt. And it was snug, like it was in the shape of a 7. So it had like almost like a little handle that you could grab. Yeah. And we took a vote. Like there was like, I don't know, about a dozen guys at the workday, and they took a vote on whether or not they pull it out or leave it in. And they were trying to feel around and didn't come out the back. For the sake of time, bro, this wire, the surgeon came out and said to my mom, me and my brother at the hospital, about a day later, I think it might've been the same day. Maybe it was this next day. I feel like it was the next day because he had a stroke and some major complications at the hospital as they went through the surgery. Bro, this wire went through his carotid artery and jugular vein and stopped less than half an inch from his spinal cord. And
so they didn't pull it out though. Clearly.
No. They didn't pull out. But to paint a picture, right? Think of a chain link fence, like the thickness of that wire, right? A carotid artery and your jugular vein are about the thickness of a number 2 like school pencil. The margin for deviation is like almost like, I mean, it's so small.
It would have had to hit it dead on.
Any varying degree. The doctor said that it would have just clipped, the side of it, and he would have bled out in under a minute.
Wow.
And it pierced both of them perfectly. I mean, just perfectly through both of them. And then it gets even crazier. He said, look, talk about divine. Like if you were closer to the bush hog, it would have had too much velocity and it would have hit your spinal cord. And if it didn't kill him there, it would have certainly paralyzed him.
Sure.
And if he was further away, the wire possibly wouldn't have been hot enough. The wire from the blade of the bush hog was still so hot that it cauterized his carotid and jugular when it went through both of them. Wow. Nuts, right? I carry the wire in my my basic text big book. But at the time, right, holding on to mom's leg at the hospital, I was 10. Which may be the connector, right? Had a therapist, make, their own opinions on that. But that experience, the doctor said that it is only by a divine act of God and just pure love and providence that your father is going to live.
And he had a stroke in the hospital during surgery, you said?
Yeah, and he had another one a few days later. Like he was reading, my parents are Virginia Tech alumni, and he was reading something out of the newspaper about the basketball team and the basketball team, maybe baseball. It was from the sports section, and like halfway through him reading this like story, he had a stroke. Like his speech went to shit.
Oh, wow.
Like in the middle of we were at his mom's house. And he just went fucking stupid mid-sentence. Back to the hospital, and so, but here's what came out of that, right? Like this should be like a hallelujah like praise God kind of story. But the reality for me, the man that went into that hospital with a wire in his neck was the most loving, caring, considerate, patient, calm, quiet man that anybody had ever met. Like it wasn't even close.
Mm-hmm.
The man that came out of that hospital, was, he was a scary dude.
Mm-hmm.
Angry. Like I say one thing out of line, like he's off the rails. I do something out of ordinary, like that comes across as disrespectful. He's ready to, put hands on me. And so for the next like couple of months or years, I came to believe that God took my dad and made him into this militaristic, like asshole drill sergeant that physically and emotionally, by today's standards, DCF would have been there a couple times a week. I mean, it was granted the early 2000s was a totally different ballgame, but in today's world, physical and emotional abuse was a light way to put it. Like it was just and I wasn't a good son. Like the power of a fist step, like I came to learn a lot more about my dad than I learned about me, and forgave him instantly. Like I don't think he did anything wrong, but as a teenager, he couldn't do anything right. And it was all God's fault, man. I didn't look back toward God for probably like 11 years. Because Austin, my first blackout was 14, 15 years old.
Okay.
Certain of it. The last drink I've had was 4 months and a day after my 21st birthday.
Okay. So a little over 7 years of drinking.
Yeah,
or maybe right on.
And dude, I didn't touch weed for almost three of those first three. I swore off of drugs. Wasn't going to do it until I did it. But within a month of smoking weed for the first time, I was selling weed and coke.
That's the natural progression of things. Definitely cocaine salesman after your first joint. How old were you when you were doing that?
I was 17, still in high school. My connection gave me a pretty bad, hookup. When I got to college and met somebody else, he and I became friends. Like he was my first higher power.
Yeah.
Second higher power. I think I knew about God and wanted to live a godly life before my dad's accident. My second higher power in life was Maddie, because this dude, he just took a fondness in me, and he had like a number one on the side and like a 4 to 6 inch long mohawk, and it was purple, and he looked like we met at a community college, and I'm interning with my dad's insurance brokerage. Mm-hmm. I'm in a shirt and tie with a suit, showing up as already a college dropout. It's my third semester of my freshman year, second college. And the guy that sits down next to me, dude, talk about another core memory. I look at him and I'm judging the shit out of him. I mean, it looks like if you had fucked a parrot, this would have been his offspring, It was wild, bro. And I just look over at him, and he looks up at me, and I'll get close enough to the camera. He looks up at me and he goes, "What's up, man?" And I immediately knew this is a guy I got to get to know.
Yeah.
We finished this class, dude. This is the first and last time I went to this history class. I can't speak for him. I know it was for me. First and last time I went to that class. And after the class, I had a parking pass to a parking garage down the street, a couple blocks away. We walked down there, and I don't know if you remember the sweatshirts that looked like they were hand woven with yarn, the reggae. Yeah, that's what he's wearing, right? And a bathing suit and shoes, like sneakers, right? Like totally makes sense,
Yeah.
purple, mohawk. And we get into this car I had, and I thought I was cool. I mean, I had just come out of, this was still freshman year. Like I was selling, a couple ounces of bud, and I didn't really sell a whole lot of coke because I did it before anybody wanted to buy it. Um, and I thought it was kind of a big deal, and I don't know, it was probably like a quarter ounce or something like that, like small. And I pulled it out of the center console, and it was mids. You still had the seeds and shit in it.
Right.
But I mean, I'm ready to impress this guy that I just met, and he leans down, he grabs his backpack, and he reaches in and he pulls out a vacuum sealed brick of bud and hands it to me, pulls out another and hands it to me, and then pulls out this little Tupperware container with some purplish, bluish, green shit that I had never seen in my life. And he goes, "If you don't mind, we're gonna smoke my stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, absolutely." And then he reaches down and he pulls out another smaller Tupperware container, and it was filled with what looked like Tums, just much smaller. And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Oh, this is just ecstasy. This is just for later." And I guarantee, I mean, it was a Tupperware container like that big around, like that deep. I mean, it had to have had, 500 plus ecstasy pills. And this dude's wearing this backpack, Austin. He
At
had it in his,
school.
no books, nothing in it, just drugs, bro. He's got, yes, on the college campus. He probably had, I'm assuming that was at least 2.5 pounds of bud.
Wow.
And probably 500 X pills. And not to mention, he probably had, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 ounces of blow on him in the same backpack scale. And he carried a 1911 in the small of his back. And that was Maddie.
I see why that was a core
power.
memory. That would be a core memory for me
higher
too,
power,
man.
bro.
Oh shit. Yeah.
I can see you're getting excited about it right now, dude.
I do.
And
I
from
get
that
all
day forward, he and I were
titillated.
buddies.
Man, I feel
He'd
you.
come
bro.
over every Sunday and drop off whatever I told him I was able to sell. Like he didn't fact check anything. I'm just like, "Yep, I'll sell that," and he just dropped stuff on the table. He's like, "All right, I'll come back next weekend. This is what I want for this, and this." And within about 2 months of knowing him, so I had a condo downtown Norfolk, and he was like, "Hey, bro, like I have some mushrooms that I'm growing at my apartment, but I want to grow more now that because I was living on right on campus of Old Dominion University." And he's like, "I need you to take over this mushroom operation." And within a few months, Austin, I mean, we were moving, dude, I was pumping out probably a pound or two of mushrooms a week. And on a college campus that you don't attend school at, real easy to sell. And so that I became that guy within 6 months of doing coke for the first time.
Man.
I was growing mushrooms in the second bedroom of the condo, probably selling 200 to 500 ecstasy pills a week. Hooked me up with the liquid little Visine bottles of acid, and I became Maddie. He was my higher power. I had the backpack. The only difference is how we dressed. I'm wearing Sperry's, khaki shorts, and a long sleeve button down.
Yeah. Nobody would suspect.
Dude, and no, absolutely not. With the little JanSport backpack, dude, with the brown bottom. I don't know if you remember those, but
oh yeah,
dude,
everybody had them.
Everybody had them. And
so
that just
you're 18, 19.
I was 18 at the time. From 18 to 19, the only difference in my life is from when the time I met him to the time I had to leave Virginia was, best way to describe it is that I kept coming up shorter and shorter on the money he came to pick up. because I kept doing more and more. And my life was a party, dude. I didn't have a normal bulb in my apartment, 2-bedroom condo,
Mm-hmm.
and every bulb was a black light. And I had the mushroom posters on the walls that glue in the dark, and the laser lights that you bought from Spencer's. And it was my little dope hole, dude. And
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I had this vanity at this condo. It was big. It was probably like 4 feet long, 4 feet deep, with the mirrors. Totally a makeup vanity. And I had it staged like it was like a glass shop.
Yeah.
I had every
Yeah.
bong laid out. The mirror never left the countertop. I mean, anytime you came over, there was at least an ounce of blow on that thing. All the tables, night tables, or coffee tables and end tables in that apartment were made out of glass. That was that was what we did, bro. That was what we
So
did.
to get sober at 4 months after your 21st birthday, between this point and that point, something, I mean, maybe it's progression, but you don't see a lot of people that get
I
sober
lost
at
the vision in
21.
my left eye. I
Go
had gotten
on.
arrested 6 times, and
Oh
I got
shit.
arrested 6 times between 18 and 21 in 3 years. 2 of those were for DUIs. Like, I wasn't supposed to be driving. Like, and my dad retained an attorney. Like, it was, and the arrests were kind of lame, like stealing stuff at Golf Galaxy,
Mm.
stealing stuff at like a local mom and pop golf store. I had this thing like from my childhood. Sounds ridiculous to say. If you can sneak into somebody's garage and steal their beer, sneak in and steal their golf clubs.
Mm.
And I would take the drivers and the 3 woods and the 5 woods that have the head covers or the putters, and I would yank them out of their bags, and I would take them to the golf store, and I would go in with the old club head cover, grab a new club, put the head cover on it, and leave the old club that I stole from somebody. And then I'd take this and sell it on eBay, or sell it to some guys that I played golf with on the golf team.
Mm.
Um, and that was like a thing before they put those little plastic, you know, safes
The
on them
little
that
BB
beeped
things.
when,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they didn't have those then. And so, like, that was like a normal, like, I got arrested for a couple of things like that: stealing from Dillard's, peeing on a cop outside of a frat house. Like, really unimpressive. You had Dallas on earlier. Like, he's a criminal.
Yeah.
Like, right, like, he could rock that. Like, and you could look at him, you could listen to his story, and you'd be like, yeah, dude, like, you came from like some really tough stuff. All of mine was self-inflicted and manufactured. Like, I never should have been in those situations, but I just found them. I was in the middle of a conversation with a cop one time, and I told him I needed to go to the bathroom, and he said, well, I'm not quite done with you. So I just whipped it out and just pissed right on his.
Wow.
So,
You mentioned, all right, so pissing on cops, stealing, DUIs. You mentioned losing your vision. What happened there?
this is everybody's favorite story. In the narcotics rooms, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, it's bad. I don't know if you've ever been to one of their meetings, but they're like professionals, retired professionals, right? And when you go in and share this story in that room, and you have people coming up to you after and going like, dude, you are really sick human being. Like,
Yeah.
I never would have imagined trying to do that. Like, you're really special, and I'm glad you got some help. Like, that's usually a sign like you might have missed, the mark of success. I had 2 buddies of mine that came over on a daily basis, and every day they would bitch and moan about how wasteful snorting coke is, and more, how much higher you can get if you shoot it. I intuitively knew that they had a drug problem because they use needles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a drug addict. I just like to party, and I'm competitive. So I came up with this brilliant idea. And mind you, right, from like 18 to 21, you want to, like I said, like, I just kept running out. Like, I couldn't come up with the money Maddie needed me to come up with. I did not draw a sober breath for at least 3 years of my life. at all.
Right.
If I slept, it was 2 or 3 nights a week. And it was only because like I like my body went to sleep and I woke up loaded and continued to party. And I had some combination of alcohol, weed, coke, mushrooms, and acid and ecstasy in my system for the better part of 3 years. That's what my life looked like in college with no college classes. But to back up to the I story, I'm 19, 18, 19. And I just got tired of listening to them tell me that I got to get the coke straight into my bloodstream. So I came up with this brilliant idea. So I thought to take my contact lenses out and I just put a couple key bumps of coke in the contact lenses and put them back in my eye. Now, when I finally got contact lenses earlier on in my life, I had a full cast on this arm for getting blackout drunk and waking up with a broken arm. I don't know, full cast. So I taught myself how to put contact lenses in with one hand. You pull the eyelid down and pop them in. And so I just pull it out, pop them out, fill them up, put them back in. And your eye, I'm sure there's like some scientific explanation for how this works, better than putting it on your tongue. But the fluid in your eye eats it up like candy, man. And the high you get now, if you can get past the abrasiveness,
I would imagine
insane burn that you would probably, if you imagine what it would feel like to cut cocaine in your eye, you probably had creatine or who knows what was in that. But my eye started showing some signs of wear and tear within a couple of days, and I intuitively knew that this wasn't sustainable, but it also wasn't stoppable because the high that I got was so much better than snorting it. So I just committed to losing my left eye. Like if it's gonna go, God gave me two. I'm willing to sacrifice my left one. I love to hunt and shoot. I can do that with my right eye. You got to close the left one anyway. The justification of an addict is just like, it actually would be better because then I don't have to worry about closing my eye. It won't work, so I won't even have to close it type of shit. Just insanity. And I came to in a hospital 3 months later. They surgically had to remove what was left of a contact lens. My cornea got infected because within a few days, because it really hurt, I started to dilute the coke with acid to get the coke to kind of soften up before the contact lens went back in the eye.
Dude, the only thing I have to liken that to, granted, I've never done anything in my eye. I don't want to say yet. I hope I never have the desire. But if you miss a vein, like with heroin, it's no big deal. If you miss a vein with cocaine, it hurts like a motherfucker.
Really?
Like, oh yeah. Like you would never go intramuscular, or like if you miss it, oh, your arm will burn. And I've done that, and it's like it hurts bad in the arm. I can't even imagine what that would feel like in the eye.
If the best thing that I could liken it to is sand at the beach.
Okay.
But it dissolves over the course of like 15 minutes. I don't think anybody realizes this until they've had eye problems, but the amount of movement your eyes do, just because one's closed, doesn't mean the eyeball doesn't move, bro.
Right.
The recovery from that surgery was miserable. I had to be on medicated eye because it ate away part of the cornea of my eye. Like if you took wax paper from your kitchen cabinet out and put a piece of wax paper over your eye, that's what looking out my left eye was like for months.
Wow.
Months. Probably I was on medicated drops for a long time. That happened in 2009, August of 2009.
Okay. All right. And so at this point, is this the lowest point, like in the hospital?
No.
Or is it just kind of like the most bonehead one?
Yeah, it was it wasn't even a wake-up call. I don't think I've ever really looked at that like you're asking it. yeah, it wasn't even, it was just like, oh, well, damn, like we can't do that anymore. We'll have to find something else type of thing. Like
Yeah.
I don't even, and because of the influence I was under for those years, like my memory is so spot. I mean, I know for a fact because it was documented, and I won't disclose in what way, but I for one summer I ate mushrooms
Hmm.
every day, and not like the micro dosing pussy shit they do now, like 3 to 5 grams of mushrooms a day minimum.
Right.
One period I stayed up for six nights. I made it a whole week from a Monday to a Monday, almost Monday, and on mushrooms and acid and
Mm.
coke and booze. But I don't remember a lot of that shit. I do remember this, that um, the darkest was when I moved to Florida because I had no couches to stay on in Virginia. Mom
Mm.
and dad was going to trespass me if I came back to the house. Mom loved me, but didn't want me to and my dad to go back at it again. It was either she side. This was like a 3 year conversation. Honey, if you side with him, I'm leaving you both. Like
Wow.
that was where my household was at home between mom and dad. And like brother was still living at home. I only had a couple of friends that still answered their phone. Like I had nowhere else to go. And so, but no big deal. Resourceful. I contacted a family friend that my parents knew really well, that I knew years prior, that were uh, down in Palm Coast, Florida. And I reached out to them and said that some opportunities opened up in Florida for me to pursue my professional golf career, and had prayed on it and going to take this leap of stepping away from collegiate golf to pursue a mini tour career. And I would absolutely love to talk to them about either a room for rent, or if they can help me find at their house, or a room to rent with somebody that they knew, or because my uncle Mike is a realtor,
Hmm.
and they lived in a 4,500 square foot house in this private neighborhood called the Sanctuary, and they said, dude, you don't need to move in somewhere else. We've got rooms we don't even
Yeah.
see, it was just three of them: Mike, Cammy, and their son Brant. Like, come on down. Brant was 15. 10. Shit, probably, yeah. 10 at the most, actually. And man, you want to talk about destruct. They held up really well. But what I put those people through and what I brought down from Virginia into their home was insane. I moved my I moved my contacts. Maddie just started mailing shit.
Mm.
Problem with the mailing stuff is a lot of it doesn't show up, and somebody's going to get caught for that eventually.
Right.
So that was that we did like 2 drops, and one of them wasn't successful, and I didn't have the money to pay for either one of them. So I was asking for a third on the front. He's like, dude, no, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Right.
You're going to pay me for the last one that didn't show up? And I'm like, nah, I ain't got it. And so it just went to drinking. And that was in September of 2011.
Okay.
And I drank enough alcohol to offset the lack of coke, mushrooms, and weed. In addition to the amount of alcohol I was already drinking. I mean, it was, I don't even know the level. Like, I laugh when I'm in a meeting and hear people refer to the amount of alcohol that they consume. It was a lot. I mean, I was drinking from the time I came to the time I passed out.
Right.
And it was vodka before lunch. It was liquor after, usually Southern Comfort and orange juice after, or Southern Comfort and Mountain Dew vodka and orange juice, Southern Comfort and Mountain Dew until it was like, you know what, fuck it, let's just drink like 3 or 4 pitchers of Yingling. And what I was doing was I was driving to the golf course. Most of the days, my clubs weren't even coming out of the car. I was playing golf with one of the men's league at this club. They'd go play. I'd drink until they got in, and then I'd drink with them until everyone went home.
Wow.
And then I would go home. And I did that I was involved in two men's leagues for 5 days a week. And then Saturday and Sunday, I would just go up there and just drink. And so they didn't see it. Mike and Cammie didn't really see it, but they saw who came home. Both of them were really grinding, providing for their family. And I was just a mess. Like I can't really speak to what kind of condition I was showing up at their house, but I can only imagine what that looked like. And it lasted like 3 months. And I got arrested again. And, not to get too deep into the specifics, but that was like just the disappointment and confusion on Mike's face when he bailed me out. I was just done, dude. Like I hadn't been partying for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The Coke and mushrooms were my master for years prior to that point. I just wanted to live somebody else's life. Like you ever play those video games where like you get to a certain checkpoint and then when you die, you just restart back at the previous checkpoint?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the best way I can describe my outlook on life. Like if it just goes bad enough tonight, I'll just, start back here, and dude, it was just so dark. I remember going to detox and looking at the group of clients and thinking to myself, like, I would love to have anyone's life but mine. And I had a good, dude, I mean, we've talked for the last like 50 minutes. Like, dude, I had it pretty freaking good. There was no reason why I would want to run from my life. Shit, I'm trying to recreate the life I ran from.
Yeah.
For my wife and kids, give me a hunting property with 1,400 acres and a house on the water with the beach and jet skis. Like, dude, sign me up. God, I've been to so many meetings over my lifetime, like, and heard it so many wonderful ways. But like, that's like in my core, like I would have begged somebody if they were willing to give me their attention and detox to trade their life with mine. And 100% meant it.
Yeah.
Like, and with no regard for the consequences. I love that description. Like I was willing to trade the consequences of getting loaded for the consequences of staying sober. There at the end, I couldn't buy the lie that the consequences of getting loaded were worth it. But I knew I had to drink. Like not drinking wasn't an option. Never tried it.
Sure.
Hell, I might have been able to do it. We could, we could run it back. No, I just, just couldn't get myself there. So
what is life? And just for anyone listening, you've stayed continuously sober from that day to this, from the point that you got sober until this day. Is that accurate?
I can unpack a couple of tie-ins that are amazing.
Yeah, please.
That really, like, if we switch gears from the doom and gloom, right, to what this power has done in my life. And I say that not to separate me from anybody or anything, right? Like any listeners, like there is something that has shown up and has had an undeniable presence in my life in the last 14 years. And what that presence or power has done is, we'll just start from the top, right? Like I showed up to court with a few months sober and a completion certificate from a rehab that the attorney that I retained in a blackout, and cussed out and told him that he had to call my mom if he wanted to get paid for his retainer. Knew the judge's wife went through a rehab down the road a few years prior and was still sober, and knew that if I showed up with a completion certificate from that treatment center, it would really, really look good in my favor from the judge. And he was right. And he also put me in touch, or put a couple people, got a couple people to write notes on my behalf. I've tried to find this guy, Mr. Miller. I don't remember his first name, and I can't find any documentation on it. My mom doesn't know it. But Mr. Miller, there's a lot of attorneys in the name Mr. Miller in Florida. But dude, I walked into that courtroom. My license was suspended. I had a warrant out for my arrest in Virginia. I had, when I got arrested, dude, I had about an eighth of blow, 2 pounds of weed, a scale, a pistol, driving my mom's car without her knowledge. The state called it stolen. It was my mom's car. So I don't really know how you steal mom's car, but it was reported that way. And blew a .28. I was already on probation. I had a warrant out because I skipped town on probation for my last DUI that I got underage, and so like it didn't look good. But dude, I walked out of this courtroom after that judge read a bunch of those letters with my license reinstated. I don't know. How do you do that? Like, how do you get there without some sort of intervention on my behalf? You can't. It's impossible, dude. I've been in too many courtrooms with sponsees over the years. Like, you don't get that kind of a break. I got that kind of a break, and I started to be willing to change my mind about the power that I was told I had to rely on in order to live. I was willing to believe that what you claim to believe might be real. And a few months later, I started making some financial amends, and I don't know how else to describe it, but divine timing and inspiration. I made a couple financial amends. I get a phone call from a buddy of mine who was my grant sponsor, who owned a bunch of hearing aid practices, and said, owned a hearing aid practice with like 20 something locations, and said, "Hey, I want you to come work for me. I want you to help people hear. You can practice under my license. I'll get you through the training program, the distance learning course, and the residency, or whatever you want to call it. And you can come on and practice under my license, and I'll teach you everything I know about the industry and serving God's kids." And right within months of making my first financial amends that I put off for months after finishing the rest of them. And dude, for the next 6 years, I made over 6 figures as a 20-something-year-old, helping God's kids. Like, that was the focal point of my life. A few years later, my dad and I have a relationship. Again, we're talking. We damn near became best friends within like 5 to 7 years of sobriety. And that was the number one resentment on my list, for obvious reasons. I hated that man. I wouldn't talk to that man. Like, that guy didn't want to talk to me or see me when I got, like, it was, there was some animosity there, but he and I were like, he was my best friend within 7 years. Restorative power of only one guy that I know of can make that happen. And it happened. His heart got healed and mine did too. And around the same time, I had a friend get LASIK surgery, suggested I go back to the eye doctor. And I hadn't gone for a couple of years, was just doing the drops still. And this at the time was 2018. So like 9 years later. Mm-hmm. And I went into a doctor, and the doctor did the scans or whatever and said, "Dude, like, I don't know how the scarring on your eye is gone, but you have no scarring on your eye. Is this your x-ray? Like, this is your name, your date of birth. Like, these are your scans. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, dude, there is no medical explanation for this. Like, it is only a divine act of intervention and providence that your eye looks like this and no longer like that. And this scan can't come from this scan. But we know a guy.
Yeah.
We know a guy. And he told me almost verbatim what that doctor told my mom about my dad, about how he lived and was going to survive, and now how I might be able to get my vision back. And so I know we're at the top of the hour, but just to keep the tie-ins going, like I set an appointment and got LASIK a couple months later. I still have 20/20 vision. And every eye doctor that I've seen for the last, 15 years goes, that's not possible. But it happened anyway. And the amends that I started making that got me in place for that job, some people would call this a coincidence, but that amends looked a lot like, sending this Jesus calling devotion to my dad every morning. That was part of what my sponsor told me to do. And I started sending this devotion. And years go by and I'm in some financial trouble. I outspent my income for a long consecutive period, many months in consecutive, whatever, what I'm trying to say, and ended up in some financial trouble. And my grandmother, Dad's mom, the one that took us to Disney every year, had a little too much in the bank for the insurance to pick up the cost of getting her into a home. And so we had to divest some of her assets. And sure enough, I still had some student loans and some credit card debt. And, through the power of an amends, she was the first person that thought of me to, give me a front, if you will, on my will, on my inheritance. I mean, the reason why she thought about me is because my dad would go over there and see her and read her this Jesus calling devotion, and got, as my dad put it, like, I got like another couple years with my mom, more than my sister, because I'd go over there and I'd read her these devotions. And when we talk about God and scripture, she would light up and the brain would turn back on for 15, 20 minutes because she knew what she was talking about.
Wow.
And I got 2 years with my mom that my sister didn't get, because those devotions that you kept sending me to try to, mend our relationship. And I got one with my mom. And, I don't know how that makes sense, bro, but we know a guy. And what makes sense doesn't usually happen. And what is absolutely impossible happens all the time. And that's what happened for me. I was the lucky recipient of there's no way. Just one more time. A couple of years after that, I met my wife, got to marry my wife, and just a couple more tie-ins. My dad stood next to me as my best man, and there wasn't even a close second. Like, I've got some really good friends that I've been running mates with that are like shoulder to shoulder with me on this recovery journey. And there wasn't even a second thought. Like, I knew exactly who I wanted standing next to me, and he sat there and cried the entire time. Just another that can't happen type of deal. And then I'll close with this, right? Like, the biggest struggle I've had in sobriety is falling in love at the very first time I met my wife. First time I met her, we sat at the kitchen table and talked about the doctor's opinion, Bill's story, There's a Solution, and more about alcoholism for about 3 hours, and rapped back and forth about her life and mine. Within a couple months of us getting married, we ran into some medical stuff that rendered us incapable of having a family. She had 2 kids from a previous marriage, and what looked like, just this beautiful just this beautiful life, like this storybook life. Like 10 years, I was 10 years sober. She was 5 years sober. Like, fell in love, dated for a bit, and got engaged. She sang at the choir. I proposed to her with the choir director and the pastor all hooked it up to where I snuck in from backstage while she's singing in the choir and hit a knee. They put it up on the screen. Like it was like it was so beautiful. Like all of it was just so freaking beautiful. And then the doctor said, "You guys aren't having kids, and you got to have this surgery, and you need to push the wedding back." And she said, "Well, we're going to have to do something else. We're not pushing the wedding back." And for the next handful of years, we've dealt with health problems, and that poor girl has gone through everything imaginable, hormone issues and all sorts of trouble. That's just been, and she's been a trooper through it, right? Like she's done a hell of a lot better of a job than I would have done. The hand of cards she's been dealt wasn't even a hand at all, and her chip count was down too, and but that girl's rallied through it, and we've faced some struggles, but this may get me in trouble. Well, probably not, because that dude's not going to see it. But the kid's dad, right? Full circle. God takes my ability to have kids, and the kid's dad, I don't think they've stayed with him for a handful of nights in the last 4 years we've been together. Got those kids full time overnight, and I don't know if I'm a good dad, but I can tell you this, that my oldest son is the worship leader in his youth group and a incredible kid, does Bible study on a weekly basis with kids over at the house, has his quiet time every day, straight A IB student, incredible kid, comes down to the living room the other night and he says, I want to take your last name. You're more of a dad than I could ever ask for. And I want the same last name as you and my mom. And like I said, I don't know if I'm a good dad, but I know in my heart that meant the world to me, and was just a little bit of a reminder, like, hey, dude, like you might be on the right track, right? And I've seen too much evidence at this point to think that old lifestyle is something of interest to me, or is the only option for anybody else that's struggling, right? The message of hope is like this. I didn't do anything to deserve any of this stuff that I just described to you in the last 17 minutes. Nothing, absolutely nothing. The only thing that I did was what somebody told me, and I disagreed with every single suggestion, but did it anyway. And the message of hope, if anything, right? Like for the guy that's still, or the man or woman that's still struggling and maybe can relate and identify with something that I've said, is like it can happen to you too. It can happen to you too. Like if you can identify with the first 45 minutes of this talk, like you should give yourself the opportunity to identify with the last 20 minutes of it. Right? The darkness at the bottom and the brightness at the top is available. I've never met anyone that couldn't experience it, but there's plenty of people that don't. And that sucks. That really sucks.
What would you say, just in closing, because we're going to get people that'll listen to this that maybe want to get sober, that never have tried. There's going to be people that are sober, or people that have relapsed, a number of times, like me, right? I was a chronic relapser after years.
Yeah.
What would you say to those guys?
To the guys and men and women that constantly relapse, like I for a long time, I thought I couldn't relate to them or speak to them because I've got one white chip. But the reality is that I've got one white chip since my last one. And eventually those people pick up one white chip, and it's the only one they've got since they picked it up. Eventually it's their last white chip. So I think that it applies to them just as much as it applies to everybody else. And the message of hope that I've got for everybody is that It's available. Fine. Like if I chase recovery like I chase alcohol, there's absolutely no way that I can't have a storybook life. Like the news that we share in a meeting is the greatest news ever. And it's available to anyone, literally anyone. Like, and so here, my first sponsor had a Rolex on his wrist, AMG Mercedes G-Wagon out in the parking lot with the Mercedes-Benz keys on the desk. And he said, I'll foot the bill of your first week out after you let me take you through these steps. If you still want to go back to that life, I'll fund the first week on my dime, not yours. Let you do anything and everything you want to do. I'll foot the bill if you're not satisfied after you go through these 12 steps. And I said, dude, shake my hand. Yeah. You're the biggest idiot I've ever met. For anybody that's watching this that has tried it, wants to try it, thinks about trying it, like, man, I believe that alcohol could work for what I had going on in here. And I acted accordingly. I would say to them, pretend like what is happening in the rooms of recovery in your neighborhood can fix this in here, and have an experience with it. Give it an opportunity, and let's see where things go.
Awesome, man. Hunter, thank you so much for joining us today. For anyone that was listening or watching along, we appreciate you. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I forgot to say that on my last one, so I'm going to say it now. And we're going to get the hell out of here. We'll catch you on the next one, folks. Bye-bye.
See you, man.